Okay, let's kick this off. Uh, Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in this evening to the virtual opening for Perceptions, the new exhibition at the Silk Purse Art Center. We've got a great evening in store with the fantastic artist on display, Julian Growcott. It's going to be a really great evening. Before we get into things, just if you have any questions or comments throughout the event, please feel free to drop those in the chat, and we'll monitor them throughout the night and get to them. So that's great. And I guess, excuse me, the next item on the agenda would be to let everyone know that the exhibition is on here at the Silk Purse Art Center from now until the end of the month. And you can come and visit us from Wednesday through Sunday. And it's a fantastic show. You'll get to see a little bit of it. We'll take a little tour a little bit later on in the evening, but that will do no justice. In person is exactly how you have to experience this show. And I will be your host this evening. My name is Stephen Snyder. I am the gallery coordinator for the West Vancouver Community Arts Council. And the Arts Council recognizes that we are on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish peoples. And on the North Shore, in particular, that means the Squamish Nation, the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, and the Musqueam Nation. And as majority guests and settlers here, we are incredibly grateful to our host nations to be on these wonderful lands and are incredibly respectful of the stewardship that they've had of these lands since time immemorial. And we're so happy to be here, and we're happy to be here in this gallery surrounded by this beautiful art. And it was created by the fantastic Julian Growcott, who is here. Julian, if you want to maybe just say a little bit about yourself for everyone watching.
Yeah, I'm an artist from Vancouver Island, but grew up in England and I do have a 4-year degree at Emily Carr, and been painting on and off since then. Most of them are surreal kind of things from sort of dreamscapes, that sort of thing. But anyway, there you go, Steve.
That's great. Yeah, it's a fantastic exhibition, and like you said, yeah, very surreal. You can kind of see some of it behind me. Very cool stuff. And actually, we have our first comment. Actually, Julian, Trond Nilsson says hi.
Oh, hey. Hello.
Awesome. So let's actually take a little tour of the show so people can get a little bit of a sample of what you were saying. So let me... Sorry, all my windows just disappeared. There we go. Sorry about that, everyone. Excellent. So here it is as you come in off of our seaside entrance. Here's a sort of bit of a overview of the whole thing here at the Silk Purse Art Center. There's a lot of great pieces. It's a very full show. As you come in, there's just a sort of a poster and then a great little bio that Julian provided. Yes, and there's all these fantastic black and white pieces to sort of start you off, these little worlds to get lost in. Yes, and there's so much detail when you get up close. And Julian, you've also made these fantastic ink drawings, which again have so much detail and all the blades of grass and everything. Is there a particular reason for all the black and white?
It was just easier than using color, really. No, I like it. I thought I did one, and I thought it actually looked really cool.
Yeah.
So I carried on doing a whole bunch of them, and I found I really liked it. But I have done color ones since then. Like
Yeah.
that one's color that I did after I did most of the black and white ones. Color does look cool too, but
Yeah.
the black and white's just kind of interesting to me anyway.
Yeah. No, it's very striking and really kind of draws you in to see all the different sort of textures and shades that can happen in, you know, blacks and whites and grays.
Yeah, and plus when you put a whole bunch of black and white paintings on a wall, it looks like a giant comic on your wall, like a giant graphic novel, sort of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was one of the great things about this exhibition as well. Is everything is, you know, great detail. It's cool compositions, but there's an interesting illustrative quality to a number of the pieces, like you mentioned, sort of like a graphic novel kind of feel. It's not just, oh, here's a scene, like a traditional landscape that's painted well. There's definitely a distinctive style happening with your work. Yes, and when there is color, it's very bold amongst all of the black and white. It's very cool.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yes, and you brought some great merchandise as well. These fantastic prints on these sort of block backgrounds for hanging, as well as these really great art cards, and actually some graphic novels that you illustrated. Yeah, we're just getting a close up on all of the texture. It's quite fantastic, very tangible. You just feel the grit of that stone wall.